So today we'll be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now on episode 26 of this series, and the last episode was one of the biggest ones so far, as we saw the formation of the international order, consisting of a ton of countries on this map, ranging from the founding countries of Nambium, Northromia, Theria, Persia, and the Alasabi Pirates, and also expanded later on over here a lot through Oceania, and also with some countries in Africa, South America, North America, and also a few in Asia. And that's where in the last episode we saw the big cutscene happen, and that cutscene, I'm gonna break it down real quick, was a meeting that took place over here in Theria into this major city on the coast, and this was a meeting between the leaders of the founding countries of the International Order, again being the Alasabi Pirates, Persdia, Theria, Northromia and Nambium, and they were pretty much talking about the great impact, the great success and unity that the international order had brought to their countries, and all of these leaders were pretty much filled with happiness and confidence because of the order. But one exception was the leader of the Alasabi Pirates in the cinematic known as Dictator Mehmed, and he was not really like confident or happy with the order, and he was also pretty concerned about if the order is gonna be successful or if countries like Therian-Aldiktan are gonna allow for this order to exist. But later on in the meeting, the leaders of these countries, and also especially the leader of Persia in the cinematic being known as King Gisan, all of them managed to convince him and to calm him down and kind of ensure him that this order will be successful, which then prompted him to help over here with the split of Oceania, which then later led to the war against Therian-Aldiktan that happened in the last episode, kind of fueling his idea that the colonialists might not be the happiest with the international order. But either way, the world is in a very interesting state right now, so let's waste no time and get straight into this video. So for the first event of this video, we'll need to talk about the international order, and that's because they'll be expanding. First of all, over here in North America, the international order will get as members this country over in here, we'll have the Nevada country over in here, and finally Redona over in here, which previously I used to refer to it as the Dakotan Empire. Now I finally went ahead and given them an official name. They are Redona or the Redonian Empire. Either way you can call them however you want, but they finally have a name, so yeah. And they joined the international order, of course. In Africa we'll have the South Madagascar country, and over here the North Tanzanian country, they will also be joining. And finally over here in Asia we'll see a pretty big amount of countries joining. Over here with these two Caspian nations joining, this Goldie country over in here, these two Siberian countries over in here, and finally we'll see the Kamchatka Peninsula country also join over in the international order. Now the international order has grown a lot, and this is obviously making Theria very happy and kind of bringing unity across the world. And with this, we'll also have to take a look at how their enemies are doing, and the exact enemy I'm talking about are the European colonialists over here with their Landia, Jetia, and the Siberian Union. And in the last episode, they went ahead and started expanding over here in North America, with their Landia taking Greenland and Siberia taking Central America. And I mean, the international order would love to stop their Landia over here from colonizing and expanding over here in North America. They will not really be able to, so because of this, their Landia will pretty much be free to take the entire Greenland and proceed to also go over here in kind of these North Canadian islands. Now, of course, this region isn't known as Canada because in Wixo they have other names for these regions, but of course, as we don't have names ourselves for these regions, we are just gonna call it Canada because why not? And now Siberia, going over here to them, they have some pretty big issues in relation to their North American colony over in here in Central America, and that's because it's pretty hard to access, and like the only real way they could reach their colony in Central America is to go over here into their South African colony, And from there pass through the Drake Passage, which isn't really the best of ideas, go over here to their Chilean colony, and from there go over here to their Central American colony. And this is far from like the best idea and the most efficient way to colonize. So because of this, they'll do the most classic colonial move, and they'll be invading this Cuban country over in here, take the Jamaica island, and then make a landing over here in Cuba, take their capital, and from here also take this, and finally to kind of get their access over here to like the big and wide sea, which then leaves them over here back to the Iberian Peninsula. With this, they took these territories, and now they will let this country live in Florida, but they will take this. And now unfortunately these guys will have to move their capital, and they are obviously a bit traumatized about what just happened to them. They just like, I mean, they just lost their core land over here in the Caribbean to like a random country over in here from Europe, which just decided that they wanted to have better connection with their colony. So because of this, Siberia just went, took over here the Caribbean, and now they solved their issue, I guess. And now the reason that the Landia will no longer be expanding over here in these Canadian regions is because they will be letting their friend over here in Jetia land over here in North America and start to colonize these lands over in here. They'll quickly go ahead and take all of these Canadian islands, and from there they will also be expanding a lot around the Canadian regions. And also please don't mistake Jetia for this Quebec country over in here. And then we'll just pretty much just see Jetia continue their expansion, going a lot and having a lot of success over in here. But of course they will be expanding, after they will be expanding over in here, Netherlands will decide that they don't want to miss out on the fun of expanding. So because of this, they will go for one of their old colonies, and this is the Quebec country which I just mentioned, as Netherlands will be declaring war on them. And the war will start with Netherlands immediately going ahead and making a landing over into that small island. And from here they will make a landing in the core land of this Quebec country. Now this Quebec country is in like deep shock because of this, because like of course they didn't think that the country they gained independence from a very long time ago, like a few centuries ago, will now like randomly come back into this continent and try to reclaim them. They really didn't see this coming, and because of this, Netherlands will welcome them with another advancement over in here with another landing. And this is pretty much gonna be the nail in the coffin for this country, as they'll lose all access over here to their northern coast. And after this, Netherlands will move over here, take their capital, and kind of go into this very populated area where also the two countries over in here, which also were Netherlands colonies, are. And these are also very freaked out. They immediately put their army on standby, because you never know when Netherlands could try to invade you. But this is not gonna be what's happening, as Netherlands will just go ahead and decimate this country. And in the peace treaty, we'll just say that the Netherlandian Empire will go ahead and fully annex the Quebec country. And now the international order is really getting freaked out, because a continent is once again getting split by them, and this will also continue to be the case, as now going back to Siberia and to their expansionist ideals, they will also go ahead and immediately send their armies over here through this Yucatan country, and they'll be completely hopeless and immediately fully annexed by Siberia. But also in the meantime, we'll just see Redona go ahead over in here into this Mississippi country and just fully take them out. And of course, this is also gonna be a full annexation, but I guess this one is a tad bit more innocent, because it's actually a country over here native in North America. But now finally Theria from the International Order is gonna sit together with Netherlandia, and kind of both of these orders, being the International Order and the European Colonial Alliance, will sit together and make a compromise on how to divide North America, so that both the colonialists and the International Order can get their spheres of influence right. And this will be the division lines of the North American Compromise. And kind of to break it down real quick, first of all, up here in the Canadian parts, it's kind of gonna be a bit split. Like it's kind of gonna be split between the international order and the colonialists on the amount of land they get. Then we'll see this entire middle portion of the US, this will entirely go to the international order. And finally, this entire Mexican part, this will entirely go to the colonialists, and specifically to Siberia, which will take all of this. And this is how North America looks with all of the borders filled in, and now the continent is fully filled in, and I mean almost fully filled in because you aren't filled in. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second, and that's because we have some wars still happening, because although the international order had given the colonialists the unclaimed land, they also want to get the land of some countries, and kind of the same with the international order, so we'll have some wars happening. And I mean, this will all be pretty easy wars, as we'll see Siberia go over here and invade this Mexican country over in here to officially form their big colony over in here in Mexico. And wow, this is a huge colony, and with this they'll go ahead and also fully annex this Mexican country over in here. And with this, Siberia has completed and fully formed their colony in Mexico. Next up, we'll see the Gold Alaska country, which is aligned to the international order. They will also do some invasions over in here and take this country over in here. And they'll also go ahead and invade into this pinkish country and also fully take them out. Next up, we'll also see Jetia go ahead and invade this little maroonish country over in here, before they'll start a massive invasion over in here into the Vancouver country. And the Vancouver country, they were experiencing some growth, but hey, the colonialists are here, so say bye-bye to your plans of growing big and strong over in here, as now Jetia will land over in here and take their capital in Vancouver, and then they'll go over in here and take their coast, and from here they'll also just totally go ahead and squeeze them all the way up to here. And of course, as always, Jetia will go ahead and fully annex the Vancouver country. And then with the newfound sea access, Jetia will go over in here and they'll also be taking the Hawaii archipelago. And now with this, North America is officially fully filled in, and the North American Compromise has been fulfilled. And by this point, with North America also being fully filled in, the Earth and the world had found itself with only one continent left to divide. I mean, there's technically two if you count Antarctica, which you should, because, I mean, why not? But with this, we only have Asia left to divide between all of these countries. But of course, that will happen in the next episode. So with this, the Earth had a lot of success fully filling in the Earth and fully colonizing it. But of course, all nice things must come to an end, as now we'll be going over here to Theria, and that's because their relations with Aldikta are just absolutely miserable. Like, the relations between these two countries are like the worst they have ever been. Now, of course, Theria and Aldikta have had a history of being enemies, to then being friends, to then being enemies again, to then being friends again, and now they are enemies again, and this is like the worst kind of bad relations that they have had in all of their history together. And today their relations get so bad that they will now officially be going to war in what will be known in history books as the Therian-Aldiktan War. And of course, the war will start with Theria immediately sending their forces over here in the territory of Aldikta and starting to invade one of, if not the oldest country in the world, in fact the oldest country in the world, with Theria being the third oldest. And of course, they'll also go ahead and start to push over here into the territory of what used to be the second oldest country in the world, which was Meroderia. But of course, they had an unfortunate fate in like episode 10 because they got invaded, and since then they've gone extinct. But now fighting will once again occur in their territory, this time between two of their biggest enemies, which also turn out to be enemies even bigger between themselves, as now Theria will go ahead over in here and start to heavily push through Aldikta's territory. And I mean, Aldikta's territory over in here isn't really like like defended well. So because of this, Theria will have a lot of success going over in here and kind of meet up with the land over in here, which definitely doesn't make them happy. They are not happy to see Aldikta nor Theria. But now, of course, Theria will not care about their Landia, they'll just care about their enemy over in here. As they continue to steamroll Aldikta, they will go ahead kind of through their like western territories over in here, which aren't really well fortified. They will pretty much take all of this, but now also Aldikta will retaliate. As now Aldikta will immediately go ahead and kick out Theria out of their territory, and now Aldikta will go ahead and start to push into the territory of Theria, over here in the territories that Theria has begun their civilization thousands of years ago, and this will kind of like hurt Theria a lot because you're taking some of their like most historical land. And after this push, they will also have a lot of success in repelling the Therian attacks, especially over into these parts, as now Aldikta continues their push through Theria over into here. But of course, Theria is the strongest country in the world, and also besides this, they have the backing of the entire international order, so it won't be that hard to push back against Aldikta, as now a very like smart Therian military general will make a landing over here in Socotra and take this island, and then proceed to make a landing over here in the tip of Somalia. And with this, they will like, this will kind of be like day D, and kind of like the Normandy landing, in the sense that like after this happens, the enemy forces will be very overwhelmed by the Therian divisions over in here, and they will proceed to fail. And after this, Theria has a massive resurgence on this front, and this massively helps Theria. With this, Aldikta will also pull a ton of their troops out of Theria in order to save the motherland, and also Theria will be very successful in repelling the Aldiktan attacks, and with this Theria will fully push through these territories in Eritrea, and after this they will fully kick out Aldikta from their territory. After this, we'll see that Theria will once again start to push over here in the territory of Aldikta, as Aldikta is kind of starting to have kind of an internal collapse, and their government is starting to lose popularity across the country, and the people are starting to get less and less happy with the Aldiktan government. The people are kind of restless, and they are starting to also feel a bit more radicalized in a way, and this will especially be fueled by the fact that Theria is going at an insane speed and insane rates towards the Aldiktan capital, and Aldikta has pretty much fallen off, as their capital will get taken by Theria, and now pretty much Aldikta's government will get overthrown, and with this, Theria will pretty much just need to kind of fight a bit more, kind of sweep a bit more through the territory of Aldikta, and also kind of defeat kind of like the anarchist militias that will form over here in Aldikta. And after a pretty wealthy amount of fighting, Theria will just start to heavily sweep Aldikta, and they will now go ahead and make a massive encirclement over in here in the Somalian regions, which slowly but surely will lead to Aldikta just losing this entire part. And when they get to this, Aldikta will just be super weakened, and the final advancements will happen, and with this, we will just see that Aldikta will collectively agree to surrender over to Theria. And with this, Theria has once again defeated Aldikta, and this peace treaty will be a brutal one. And in this peace treaty, we will see that Theria will take a considerable amount of land from Aldikta, and with this, Theria has officially reclaimed their once old ancient territories over here on the Ethiopian coast. Now, if you remember from episode 1, this is where Theria started as a country, and now finally, almost 30 episodes later, they have finally reclaimed these territories alongside the island of Socotra, and now Theria has finally reconquered their roots while also being pretty much at their peak and having a very big empire across the Middle East and North Africa. And for the rest of the territories of Aldikta, Theria will get the ultimate revenge on Aldikta, and with this, we will see that Aldikta will officially be turned into a puppet of Theria. Theria had enough of Aldikta, and now finally they put an end to their legacy, and with this Theria grows their empire a lot, and now they finally have a puppet over here in what used to be their biggest enemy. Now Aldikta is turned into a Therian puppet state. And now that will do it for this video on what if civilization started over, and I really hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.